We're back here with the Leadership Lowdown, where I'm talking with the senior leadership of US Squash about what they're working on now and in response to the COVID-19 situation, but also just more generally what they do and how they do it. And we're here with Ryan Rayfield. He's the Vice President of Information Technology, and he's been driving our vision in terms of how to leverage technology for the last 7 years. And so it's great to have you on the Leadership Lowdown, Ryan.
Thank you for having me. Excited
All right,
to talk
sure.
through.
It's good to see you. The first question I had is something that I think a lot of people ask, which is, what is Club Locker again? Because we talk a lot about Club Locker and US Squash technology, but I think it probably means something different depending on who you are, whether you're a coach or a pro or a parent or a player. So can you just sort of talk broadly about how we think of technology at US Squash and about Club Locker?
Sure. It's a good question. A lot of people are confused about the product because it means something different for everybody. But put simply, it's software built by US Squash that allows players more engagement. It allows people to essentially get playing more faster with less hassle. That's our primary goal, is to get people on court. When we originally created the product, I think we came up with the name Club Locker because when you go to the gym, you just kind of stuff everything in there, and it gets you to where you need to be to get playing the game. And that's what we're trying to do: give all the tools necessary to clubs and players and whomever else to get moving and get on court.
Well, so branding challenges aside, can you just give sort of a rundown of features and functions that you consider part of Club Locker?
Sure. So as we said, means something different to everybody. Our most important constituent group, of course, are our members, our users, our players, and our suite of functionality essentially allows someone to chart a path through the squash world from A to Z. So you might look for a club on Club Locker, find a club, become a member on the club's membership site, which we help run, book a court on our reservation suite that we give to clubs, find a lesson, book a clinic, play a match, get involved in a box league, get a rating and a ranking from putting in those match scores, increase your competition level to tournaments, register for a tournament, and get a national ranking and rating. And all the while, Club Locker is kind of in the background, helping facilitate that process.
I know a lot of clubs use the system to manage their courts. Essentially, it's like the open table or Resi for squash courts. Can you talk a little bit about our relationship with facilities?
Yeah. It's one of the reasons we started the program actually was to just increase our relationships and grow them with clubs and players alike. So I think now we have roughly 2,000. We have over 1 million reservations. We've got 200 clubs using the system in some capacity, and around 2,000 courts logged and taking reservations. So the reservation system really helps club managers with programming, with club management, with membership, with payments, and so forth. Additionally, for players and clubs alike, we've got a product called Club Locker Venue, and that is a system that helps fans as well as players be more engaged in the game and be able to know what's actually going on when you walk into a court or walk into a match. So it used to be the case that you walk through the doors, 9 courts are playing, multiple teams, for instance, in a college environment. And you've got maybe a chalkboard that's filled out from 2 hours ago because the coaches and players and parents are busy watching, and you really have no idea what's going on. So we created a live scoring mechanism, and we've created on-site facility scoreboards that present a number of different views for matches, whether they be tournament, individual matches, individual tournament matches, or like a team tournament. So we've installed that now in, I think, 40, somewhere between 30 and 40 clubs, and over 400 courts across the U.S., really changing the way people ingest squash.
Yeah, I know there a lot of universities have installed it, and it's enhanced the college or high school team, the presentation of the matches, and just sort of enjoying and keeping track of what's actually going on, but also that connects with the live scoring system that we use throughout junior tournaments in particular, but also adult tournaments, so that it's easier to run a tournament.
Which underlies a lot of the point that we were making with respect to just kind of being in the background. So we've got high schools, we've got colleges, we've got adult tournaments and clubs and facilities all using the software, which helps us provide a consistent experience and gives us a way to kind of continue those relationships all the way through someone's career.
So technology is essentially engineering, software engineering, and engineers are sort of classically underappreciated. You really only notice them when things go wrong. You don't appreciate the jet engine until there's a problem with it. And I think similarly, there's a really high expectation around the world in terms of what software enables us to do. So one of the questions that we ask ourselves, I know, but also others might be asking as well, aren't there other companies that could provide software to do what we need to do ourselves as a governing body, and also what the squash community needs to do? So why haven't we partnered? Why are we building some of this on our own?
Yeah. The main reason is because we wanted to chart our own course, take charge of our own destiny. Although there's tons of different systems out there that do individual pieces of what we do, it's very rare to find software that kind of creates an end-to-end vertically integrated capability that we do. So, technology touches everything that we do, and it's only going to increase. So having the expertise in technology and also owning the platform ourselves help us guide direction. If squash is ever going to explode and be the sport that we all think it can and should be across the world, then I think technology will need to be there to help scale and provide the tools necessary worldwide, really, to increase programming, to centralize a database so that we can, as a group, as a worldwide group, market to the appropriate people and receive some more recognition on the world stage.
So I think part of what I'm hearing is, we want to control our future in the area of technology. Another way of saying that is we have to invest in technology one way or another, whether it's a third party or ourselves. And, one of the things that I often say, regardless of the topic, is squash is small, and therefore let's try and use that as a benefit, as an advantage rather than a disadvantage. And one of the ways I think we've been thinking is if we can aggregate a marketplace, but it can work towards the benefit of the sport rather than paying another software company or technology company. If we can aggregate that benefit towards reinvesting in the sport, that's probably a good thing. And our needs are similar to needs all around the world. So I know we have partnerships with England and with Canada and World Squash. Can you talk a little bit about that and what the Global Squash Collaborative is all about and why we're pursuing that?
Yeah. So it really grew out of the mission and vision that we set out from the beginning. As you mentioned, we share a lot of the challenges that other organizations do across the world. And so in conversations with those larger federations, we got together and said, how do we drive technology together for the benefit of the sport and our players, and create some efficiencies. And so a number of years ago, we decided that that the software would essentially be licensed and run by a group of federations for the benefit of the sport. It gives the it gives us a way to not only maintain a relationship with all these countries, but also share knowledge. It's something that I think has been lacking across the world through squash organizations in times past, and now we've got very regular communication with those countries and others looking to come on the platform. But ultimately, driving more revenue through the system benefits the sport both monetarily and just from a community engagement standpoint.
And ultimately, there's a value in aggregating a big database of squash players worldwide. There's commercial value to that as well that can be cycled back to the federations to grow, I would think.
Right. We're a small sport, so in the U.S. or otherwise, going to Nike and saying, will you sponsor us, is less of the attractive proposition than saying we've got the entire world of squash on our system, and some other players for that matters from other sports. Being able to advertise, or rather just to communicate with those players is a big commercial benefit.
So, I hear what you're saying in terms of working with other NGBs, national governing bodies. I know we do some work with other sports, and there are a lot of applications to the software as a complete set, end to end. Can you talk a little bit about some of the other sports that we work with and other opportunities we might have?
Yeah. Well, we're laser focused on squash at the moment. That said, we realized very, very early on that if we were to broaden the base of players that we have contact with through the reservation system that we built, many of these clubs have multiple other sports that they need to facilitate that booking with, and so creating the flexibility in the system was a day one objective. And we've got the ability to create either multiple different sports and multiple different courts on that reservation system, and then subsequently built out all the additional features to be able to utilize those sports or utilize those features for those sports specifically. So we've got many clubs that use the booking system for tennis. We've got clubs that use it for reserving a basketball court, reserving a golf simulator, booking a massage. And all of those things, I think, just round out the platform so that it makes it more usable in the club environment. From a sport perspective, a different sport perspective, utilizing the programming and organized play aspects of the system, we have had some success in really just organic growth, and multiple sports and national federations and governing bodies reaching out, asking us what we do as an organization and NGB, and how they could replicate some of that. And so we've been in discussion with some paddle, some pickleball, some tennis, badminton, and even backgammon, as well as the other racket sports that we know of, the smaller ones like rackets and court tennis. And so there's a lot of interest, and though we remain focused on squash, the system's built flexibly enough that we can pretty easily turn on those aspects.
So let's hope backgammon doesn't make it into the Olympics before squash does, but happy to support them and drive revenue through the system.
Yes.
I can see benefits to the clubs and the booking system and just making everything that they do simpler. And like you say, in the background and to facilities in terms of the scoring app and presenting the sport. Um, Obviously, there are a lot of benefits just operationally for U.S. squash. Can you talk a little bit about sort of from the inside or from a tournament or league director's perspective, why using a system like Club Locker is helpful?
Yeah. So again, there's other software out there that helps manage some of these processes. Our key differentiator here is that the software again is built by US Squash, and the rankings and ratings that we provide to our members are built through the scores entered for all different types of matches, whether they be friendly matches at those clubs or more often the more organized leagues and tournament matches. So though we did start with reservations suite, we had always had the plan and have now completed the transition through to kind of more centralized software system that allows those league administrators to take registrations for the league, to build out their teams, to create the different standings types and rankings, and do it all with sort of a few clicks. From a tournament management standpoint, we at US Squash run a lot of tournaments ourselves, and those that we don't run, we provide a lot of support for. And so creating efficiencies in that tournament management process so that users can control their own withdrawals. For instance, we don't have to manually calculate our seeding points and rate and cut list points to determine who's actually in our JCT and gold tournaments or otherwise. It just helps our staff with creating some efficiencies. So there's less back and forth. There's less manual work. And what we've tried to do is create the features and functionality to trickle that down to the tournament directors. So at the end of the day, they can press a few buttons, manage their tournament all the way through from registration to end of tournament. And for the players, the ratings and rankings get automatically generated because of what's going on in the background, because of those scores getting entered, the players moving through the draws, the points being automatically calculated, and so on. So a lot of our effort has been in creating interfaces and functionality for that, and we're in the process now of just continuing to optimize all those things and create new features that continue to improve upon that platform and create those efficiencies.
So we're taking time out of people's effort to run the programs that we think are beneficial. A lot of these things ultimately, I guess, are focused on people having a good experience in the sport. We talk at US Squash a lot about lifelong positive engagement in squash. I feel like we'd be derelict in duty if we didn't talk about COVID-19 and the impact that that's having on the world, on the country, obviously on squash and US Squash, and just sort of our thoughts collectively on technology in this new era and sort of what where we're going with all this. Can you talk a little bit about what we're focused on now?
Yeah. So oddly enough, we're busier than ever. I think we had some specific work to do around creating our new 3 and 5 year membership capabilities, and then a benefit of the system is that we now can offer that to all of our other organizations and clients. That had been in focus for the number of weeks. We're taking a lot of time out to make sure that we can do some big architectural and structural updates that just help us future-proof the software, updates and changes in how the ratings and rankings function, how again, the tournament management updates. But with respect to the COVID situation, we've got some requests for some smaller features as well. So the idea of creating reservations with a block 15 minutes posted after the booking, so that the courts can be cleaned, something we've actually had in the software for a while, but now has been made much more apparent via the COVID crisis. More importantly, I think as people get back into the game, and as tournaments and leagues and even just regular reservations starting to ramp up, we're creating some functionality on the back end in small steps to allow for some streaming and recording capabilities, so that if we come back in a world where the tournament gallery needs to be much thinned out or even taken to zero, then we can offer the players and fans a way to share their matches. We actively do already stream a lot of our matches at some of our larger tournaments, but these updates that we're making, I think, will make the whole process a lot easier and clearer and much more ubiquitous throughout the system.
Well, it's a big vision in terms of technology. We also have another big vision project going on, the Spectre Center, which is due to open by the end of this calendar year. Can you talk a little bit about what role technology plays within the center, or will play within that, and how that links up with Club Locker?
Yeah, so we most of what we built already will fulfill the needs of end-to-end club management for the center. I've been in constant discussion with James Nieder for a number of months now to make sure that we can integrate with other sort of rock solid software organizations to create a kind of full package that can be used from check-in all the way through to matches being played, lessons being paid for, and clinics being registered for, to check out. So we've worked hard on creating a lot of the requirements around that, and for the most part we're there, but we're working hard every day to make sure that when the center opens, the sign on and get playing process is really seamless. The streaming. Sorry, go on.
No, you. Well, I was just going to say, like a lot of things that we develop, we are our own biggest customer. So if we're building out software to help people run events, we run a lot of our own events. If we help people run facilities and run programs at facilities, well, we're going to have our own facility to run. And so in a way, we're sort of a provider, but also a customer of our own products. And I think that's sort of a nice part about having squash, the sport, have its own in-house system that can also generate other benefits. Like we said, a bigger marketplace where we can reinvest in the sport as a nonprofit. So, a lot of people have expressed this as kind of a technology startup within a nonprofit. And in fact, we're sort of structured in that way. One question people might have, and it's a question that we wrestle with a lot as an organization as well, does Club Locker make money, and how is this all paid for? So I guess the first question is, from your perspective, does Club Locker or our technology make money? And then I can provide my answer too.
Sure. So pretty much anything that anybody does with respect to squash in the U.S. or with tournaments, leagues, and their club environments goes through Club Locker. Our membership, our multiple different memberships, of course, are held on Club Locker, and that revenue has grown 30+% over the years, and I think that's largely due to the efficiencies that we've created from a member management system standpoint. Um, the software, technically licensed by the Global Squash Collaborative, makes money by throughput, and that throughput obviously has fallen off a cliff at this point. But generally, we take a small bit of revenue as the Global Squash Collaborative to help facilitate a lot more revenue through all the other organizations. So I think, if I remember correctly, our time horizon for full sustainability of this software, from the Global Squash Collaborative's perspective, might be a multi-year, 5 to 10-year timeline. That said, it's a rising tide lifts all boats. We're creating. We have a turnkey solution that creates efficiencies across the board, and so all of those organizations that use Club Locker are seeing growth in the areas that they use the software. And so, does it make money? Yes. I think it makes a lot more money for the organizations that use it, which is really our end goal.
Well, we've had 12% year over year growth in membership revenue for the last 4 years. So that's some real growth, and driving the numbers. Similarly, we've had even greater growth in terms of accreditation fees, which is essentially a percent of entries of tournaments that we sanction and help support. And I think there's no way we would have experienced that without the integrated system that we have. So it's hard to pull apart. I know there's certain portions that are essentially Club Locker direct related, in the sense that we now enable facilities to charge for their programs through the system, which aren't necessarily our programs, but fees, like any payment system, come through the system, and we get a percent of that. And so, in the bigger picture, the more volume through the system, the more we're able to reinvest in the technology, but also the sport. I do think it's worth saying that we've had a few very generous anonymous benefactors who really believe in technology and the role it has in the future of any organization or business. So we're extremely thankful for their support, and that's really allowed us to continue to make these investments. When I was at Sun prior to this job, Sun Microsystems, their tagline was, "The network is the computer." Now, this was nearly 20 years ago, and ultimately that's turned into cloud computing. I think I generally think of it as technology is the business at this point. And no matter what business you're in, whether you're a nonprofit or a sports organization or a business. And while that may be a bit of an exaggeration, because at the end of the day, our business is about positive experiences of people interacting together and on court and socially, for a lifetime. All of this in the background is essential to bringing people together. So, I guess I'd like to just close by saying, we're thankful for the people supporting U.S. Squash. We're thankful to the districts who are outstanding partners of ours, who have really embraced the system over the last 6 or 7 years. There are a lot of clubs that have been with us from the beginning on this, and universities and other facilities. We're thankful for them. I know you've got a really great team that you've worked with for a long time and pulled together, and so we're thankful for them as well. And finally, I would say, since you've come on board, you've shown equal flexibility to the system that you've created, in terms of really growing with the system and developing into what it is. I mean, we painted a vision 6-7 years ago, and you've really brought it to life. So all credit to you and your team. And as sad a time as this is right now, and that we're all apart and can't be with each other and aren't really playing squash, look forward to the time to be able to ramp that up really quickly, with the help of all that your team does. So thank you. And, let's check in again soon and hopefully see you soon in person, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. It's been an incredible experience. Appreciate it.